Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Saturday. And it's really nice to have you all here. And you can hear Darren munching on his chips in the background. So that's just to let everyone know that everybody's here. And let's say good day to everyone. Starting with Darren. Why not? We'll start with you, mate, because you're munching on your chips. How's your week been?
Yeah. Okay.
Got you.
Yeah.
All right. While Darren's having
See you, Darren.
Yeah, we'll go to Andy. How's your week been, Andy?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's been quite pleasant. Actually, the first official week of summer holidays. Not that I've noticed much difference compared to previous weeks, but I've been quite busy in here doing my sort of sound designy thing. I've done a little bit of a sort of I say collaboration with Chob. Actually, he sent me the audio file for one of his performances he did on YouTube, and I sort of noodled over the top of it. And oddly enough, it took me ages to get it to the point where I was happy with it. I had 4 or 5 different goes at it, and I realised I was playing too much. So I had to sort of play a lot less than I was originally doing. I got to the point where I did something I thought was all right. So I've been doing that, and also then carrying on with me sound edit, sound designing. I've spent a bit of time mangling up various speech samples this week in Audacity, and just building up a collection of those to start building up me isolation music, as it were.
That's awesome. Awesome. We'll go across to Chob. Been on here, where's his camera gone? Nope. I don't know where his camera's gone. Just give me a sec. I'm going to change to this one. There he is. Hey.
I don't need to press. There we are. So we're out to press a button or something then.
Nice to see you again. Thanks for
All
coming
right,
back
everyone.
on.
Hello. Yeah. Pleasure. Back.
How's your week been?
The week. It's all right. I've returned, so it's nice to think I've got. I think. Less time in the studio, of course, but I've been pushing. Must try and mix and match up my gear. Decided to move away from just what it does. For instance, I've been chucking the grandmother through just to see what to do and mangling things up from there. And it ironically ended up with lots of orchestral pieces. So much so that I've recorded something that sounds like a quartet.
Wow. From the
Nice
matriarch, is it?
Mm.
Beautiful.
No, just from the grandmother.
From the grandmother. Sorry, I thought you said matriarch. Sorry, apologies.
Ooh,
Awesome.
don't I wish.
Fantastic. Let's go back to Darren, because I think he's composed himself.
Is he recovered?
Yeah, I'm fine now. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, not bad. Been an okay week. Yeah, that's about all I can say, really. Just a decent week.
And do you want to let us know a little bit about what LPs you got there are? Just to put us in. I can recognise.
Well, I'm still waiting for. Okay, so we'll go through them. We've got 808 State, the only round that bites.
Yeah, got that one.
KLF.
KLF.
Yeah.
3AM Eternal.
No,
Yeah.
Kicks Like a Mule.
Yes.
Number one. Anybody?
no.
What's not this one?
I can't see
Go
it.
on, you do. Just the cover should give it. Candy Statin and
No, I didn't get that one.
No.
Didn't get it. Sorry.
New order.
Candy Statin and the Sauce.
I've got new
Candy Statin
order.
and the Sauce. Yeah, new order, fine time.
Yeah.
New order. I got there in the end. I knew I'd got it somewhere.
Expansions Move Your Body.
Wow. So there's out of that, there's 2 that I don't have. The one that I didn't get was the expansions, and the other one. But I've got new order. I've got KLF. I've got 808 State. Yeah, beautiful, awesome. Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's the MC Tunes one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only round the bites with MC Tunes, yeah.
Well, anyway, let's go back to my ugly mug for a sec. So thank you everyone for joining us. We are if you're new, that is, because everyone who's probably here isn't new anyway. But anyway, if you are new and you're watching, jump in the chat. We're a friendly bunch. We do kind of talk about synths and, this stuff. If you've tried to see if we're a guitar show, I do apologise. We're not a guitar show, but we could be. I could go and grab my guitar. But nothing against guitarists. A lot of guitarists love synths because it's electronic anyway. So, but mainly, that sort of stuff. Now, this week, good topic, I think. Someone suggested it. We're going to talk about, and I think it's just really quite a general open topic. We're going to talk about synth prices. And what that actually might mean for all of us is it might mean how they're affecting us. Are they high? Are they low? What do they think of used prices? What do they think of new prices? What do they think of the clones, which tends to be a fairly hot topic at the moment as well. So that's kind of, it's very loose topic. So you guys can start off that, especially you guys in the chat as well. Now, we're not going to do that just yet. We do have our regular segments lined up, and we're going to roll the stinger for the first one. And the first one is FunnySide. Now, if everything goes well, we have reached the end of the internet where stranger things do happen. And starting off with the first one, yes, you can get your very own Karen guitar pedal. And I don't know if you guys get the Karen jokes over in the UK, where she's the triggered lady, and she has a fairly decent she has a fairly decent sense of entitlement, and she might need to be managed a bit. Where I thought there was a couple of missed opportunities for the outputs to be renamed. Usually, yeah. But yeah, Karen is that sort of lady that comes on social media quite frequently. Anyway, there's a guitar pedal out for her. Tell us in the chat if you are aware of the Karen term. I think it's quite common here in Australia and apparently in the US as well. Anyway, that was a good one. Next one. This one's for JX3D. He actually sent me a different version of this, and I said I'd already got it, but then I actually realised it's slightly different. So he has to go get his. This one would be for you, Andy, actually, because you've just recently been through this, right?
Haven't I just? And every time I've had to shell out, I've been thinking, well, that's push. Well, for me, it wasn't actually necessarily going out and buying, but pushing back the point when I could. So yeah, I identify with that one completely. Yes, definitely.
Anyone recognise the Euro rack module in that photo? Darren, you recognise that one? No. Darren's thinking about it. I'll go on to the next one. I'll go on to the next ones. If you can recognise it, let us know in the chat. All right, next one. Is this the one you sent in, Andy? I think this is the one you sent in. Who needs friends when you have synths, eh? That's me. Back in the 70s. No. Geez, look at the glasses on that, eh? Beautiful. No one's laughing at that because they all kind of feel. Hang on, are you picking on me again?
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what I look like as well. Unfortunately. Yeah.
Someday people will dance to this shit. Nothing like future predictions. I mean, I kind of wish that every time I release a track.
Yeah.
And I forgot to put a beat in it. No, just kidding. All right. Which one was your favourite out of the memes? Let us know in the chat. We just did the 4.
The last one, that was definitely good. Yeah, the Morse code bit. Makes me think of the Tim Simonon. What was he called? Come on, Darren. Tim Simonon's outfit in the late 80s, early 90s.
No.
I can't think what it is. Tim.
Bass. Bomb the Bass is what I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I didn't recognise the
Thank you, Sonic Neutronic. We got there, yeah. Bomb the
Yep.
Bass.
Yep.
Yeah, with the sort of Morse codey bit on the little bleep.
The 10-second delay, you got it.
Beat
Beautiful.
this.
Yeah, beat this. Yeah.
That's right. That's it. Well done, Darren. Yeah, encyclopedic knowledge of 80s and 90s dance. There we go.
So, Andy,
In fact, actually, I could have put that one up.
I was going to say, Andy, you've loaded me up with quite a few memes now, so you'll probably have the next 2 or 3 weeks covered. And so to squeeze one of yours in each week.
I just spent a silly hour last night.
That was awesome. All right, let's go to the next segment. We've got news. Now, this week it's going to be a little bit different with news. And if JX3D is in the chat, he'll like the first item off the cab off the rank. I don't know if a graphic for this is not a very good graphic, but anyway, it's kind of like the angry YouTube logo. Now, he sent me through this article. Google removes all Danish music from YouTube, and I read this and I was really disappointed to hear about this. And so basically, for those who don't know, I'll put a link in the description of the video later on. When you guys watch the replay, you can read this. But basically, Nordic company Polaris negotiations with Nordic Agreement on the use of music on YouTube are in sort of like a full swing, and the agreement will replace all these kind of Norwegian, Finnish, Danish composers, singers, songwriters companies and bring them together in a joint agreement with Google. Now, for Coda, the national agreement expired in April, and after it was temporarily extended, it's normal practice of the industry while negotiating. However, Google's now decided, as a condition of the new temporary extension, they demanded that the monies that the composers and songwriters receive from YouTube's use of music be reduced by 70%, despite the fact that YouTube's use of the music has increased significantly. So since Coda entered in the agreement last time. So of course, Coda can't accept this, and as a result now, Google has decided to basically not play or use any of the music from singers and songwriters under the Coda agreement, which is kind of really bad, because I mean, I actually do know Norwegian bands, I know Danish bands, and that technically means that we will not be able to listen to them through the YouTube, or even, I think this actually extends through the Google platform as well, because I think if Google are based on this, I mean, we need to check it out. But anyway, I just thought I'd get everyone's sort of thoughts on this. Does anyone want to start off with this one? No? JX3D's made a comment in the chat.
It's worrying. It's definitely worrying.
Yeah? You want to go, Chop?
The comment.
Oh, you go, and I'll get to his comment.
The size of Google are playing like this. Who suffers? Yeah, it's a bunch of people on one side arguing with a bunch of people on the other side, and we're stuck in the middle, and we're the ones that... I don't understand why big companies have to take these sort of Luddite approaches to disputes and then make good for it. Well, not us in this case, but it is worrying.
It is, yeah. So, well, JX3D comment, let's see if we can grab that up, and we'll pop that in on the queue. So just let me remove the other one. All right, now if we go to here, it should pop up. Just wait for ASIOs. Down the bottom under socials, there we go. Many Danish artists have lost their platform because of this, and nobody knows how long it will last. And I think that's kind of the big point, that, you know, that no one really wanted this to happen, and as a result, no one's going to benefit from it. And I think Google are just being very heavy-handed. Yeah, I think there might be a loophole, though, in this, and that is if you haven't signed to, I think, is it Coda, the organisation? So if you're independent and you haven't signed through them, you'd probably still be okay if you're just releasing stuff independently. But I think under a lot of those countries do kind of get... in Australia, we have a thing called APRA, so we kind of are not forced, but it's most artists will sign under some sort of APRA agreement. So same thing would happen to me. So if APRA went into some sort of falling out with Google, all of my music would be off, and that would suck. So I kind of know what he's talking about. So he's also said that they've influenced this learning, not depending on the platform in the future. So Google are losing on doing this. So yeah, I actually agree with that. They're losing big time. So yeah,
totally agree.
Just what I guess at the point, I think it's really good that he's brought this up. Now, he brought that to my attention through Patreon, and this is one of the great things about Patreon is you get that sort of more sort of closer contact with all the people that tend to be regulars on the show, and we get to sort of have those one-on-one conversations, which is good. But put yourself in his shoes. If that happened to you, so in your country where you are, if all of a sudden Google had a falling out with that music agreement with the governing body in your country, what would happen? In the UK, what's the governing body called in the UK? Is it the BBC still, or is it someone else?
No, it's the PRS, the Performing Rights Societies, the Royalty Collection Service. Yeah, and of course they collect not just on on sort of the sales on the plays of music on television, on radio, commercial radio, the BBC, on adverts, in shops, anywhere that actually has music playing. They have to have a PRS license to do it if they're playing music to the public, and they collect all the royalties, and they will be collecting the royalties now from all the internet platforms that play and distribute music. So it is a worrying thing if every time that Google stroke YouTube wants to renegotiate its agreements with sort of royalty collection agencies, that they're going to say, wow, we're going to cut the money. I mean, artists have already had a massive income hit in the decline of sales of actual physical copies of music. So like Darren showed all his 12-inch singles, CDs, all of those sort of things. There was a much bigger amount of money that was going to artists than is nowadays when they actually download it. And if this is another income stream that's going to be cut because the big giants are getting greedier than they already are, then it is actually an extremely worrying situation for creative types all over, because it'll not just end up with music. The potential for other creative areas to be impacted by this is huge.
Yeah,
it's really quite concerning.
I agree. And actually, that was quite timely that you mentioned the streaming stuff, because we just heard. I don't know if you guys follow the news, but the CEO of Spotify, Daniel Ek, responds recently to criticism about streaming royalties, and his response I didn't like at all. It was basically, well, suck it up, princess, streaming's here to stay. That was pretty much to sum up what he said to us, and he is raking in a lot of money. Like, he's probably one of the richest people in the world now, billions, we would say, from all the artists. Now, I mean, lately there's been some really good live streams, and the first one that I want to mention was the Pro Synth Network that streamed, and they had Mick McNeil from Simple Minds on, and it was brilliant, really absolutely brilliant. So the guys like Robbie, Ben, and Chris, who organised that show, really big thumbs up from me and whoever else, I guess, on their behalf. I really enjoyed that. And one of the things I enjoyed that a lot about was Mick standing up for all of us, saying, we just really are being shut on right now by these streaming organisations. Yep. Musicians aren't making any money at all. That was really the point he was making. And the other one that came on was Gaz Williams did a stream, and he had Lloyd Cole. So I don't know if you guys saw that. And that was a brilliant interview. I actually love Lloyd Cole. Have done since the Commotion days, and talk about that a bit later in the show. But on the point of what we're talking about here with musicians' rights and stuff like that, he was big banging on about how it's changed, and there's no more physical sales and that. And I was taking my kid through a shopping centre the other day, and I think it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, so not that long ago. And this was after school when he went through on their way to the supermarket, and they had an old record store there. And I haven't seen a record store in shopping centres for ages. And there used to be heaps of them. There used to be Virgin. There used to be, what I mean? Like, there used to be heaps of them. And this was like a little boutique, guy selling vinyl, cassettes. I was amazed to see cassettes for sale in there, which just blew me away. Anyway, so what I was showing my son was, I just want you to just feel what it was like, step back maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, when you actually bought music, you actually bought it this way. And so you'd actually pick up an LP, and you would look at the jacket, and you'd open it up, and you'd look at the artwork, and that was part of the experience, not just the listening side. It was the actual, the art, the pop culture. There was so much around it. It was actually, it was kind of a village that you belonged to once. You'd get excited if you heard the news that one of your favourite bands was going to release an album, because there was lots of things that you'd be excited about. Obviously, listening is one thing, but yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what we're saying about the streaming. Hours. Well, look at Darren right now. He's showing off his LPs, right? So they're important to him.
I remember spending hours. I think Inky will remember this, but I remember spending hours in spinning, listening to, picking up white labels, listening to them, putting them back, listening to them, and then buying them. Actually, physically buying them. You actually had a copy of what you were listening to, not just having a quick flick on as an MP3 and that's it. So, and you like you say, you owned that.
Yeah.
And it's so different with an MP3 now. It's a file that can get lost anywhere.
Yeah, you don't own any artwork.
You don't own it.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
You own the object.
You own the rights to listen to something. That's about it.
Yeah.
Until they decide you don't.
Until they say no more. Yeah, well, until I stop paying my DistroKid or whatever it's called bill that I have to pay to keep it up there. Anyway, that's a good segue. Thanks very much, JX3D, for that topic. That was a great one, and I didn't even know about it. So it's good that you guys are sending those in. But it's very good segue to go to the next one. So we'll go back to here. And the next one is kind of what we were talking about before. And that is, in a way, we were talking about ways of listening. And I don't know if you guys can recognize these people in these photos, but you've got Brian Eno's chin and Laurie Anderson's
eyes.
But not the greatest graphic there. But anyway, look, they were on a stream, and I'm going to show you guys a bit of a snippet of the stream in a sec. But they were talking about ways of listening and the idea behind listening, and it was kind of like a discussion of their experience. And I thought this was really interesting. I thought this was kind of it's something that I haven't actually stopped myself to actually think about, and that's why I actually really appreciated these guys doing it, because what they've done is they've just reminded me, hey, you're actually doing this automatically, but what you should do is just stop yourself and think, what am I doing right now? I'm listening, whether it be to music, whether it be to a crowd, a conversation, nature, whatever, right? Stop yourself and actually ask yourself some questions while what you're doing. Pay attention to what you're listening to, how that gains your attention, how this affects you, whether it's giving you an emotion, whether it's a feeling, whether it's what sort of reaction you're getting. You might have a physical reaction, you might have a mental reaction. And then, see where that takes you. That little sort of pause, just to sort of catch yourself doing stuff. That was brilliant. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the video. I think it's lined up. There we go here. Now, this is a really, really long podcast, but to the start, you can just hear the birds. So this was, I'll just go to the...
Chanting, Hindi chanting.
So we'll just go, so Simon McBurney was the guy that recorded the birds at the start, and he was telling everyone why he recorded it. And so he was going through nature and he was telling his experience about what he was hearing with the birds. I won't actually play it through you guys, but just so you can just see their faces. He was basically saying he's never heard birds chirp and sing so loud during COVID-19 because there's less people out. These birds seem happier. And that was his experience, right? So Brian's talking about, I think he's talking about it now. Let's have a quick listen.
Football chanting sometimes, all kinds of chanting.
Oh, no, we got...
because I kind of think it's an amazing expression.
So we got them talking about, Brian was talking about this app on his phone which goes around the whole world and you can randomly choose a radio station. And he was finding these radio stations all over the world. One was like this Russian monk chant all 24 hours a day and he listens to it. So anyway, I will link that video into the description. Very, very, I don't want to take you guys through it now because it's a long, long, long conversation, but I just thought, for something different, we could talk about ways of listening. And I think this all should be something that we don't really talk about. We talk about it with sound design and synthesis, don't we? So, but do we stop ourselves and go, hey, that sound makes me, and then finish the sentence? Do you know what I mean? Like listening to that synth, that sound makes me. It's a good question, isn't it? What do you guys think? Who wants to start?
I'd like to jump in.
Yeah, Andy.
If I may. I think people have forgotten how to listen. I would also include myself in that in lots of ways. If you think, at one time before music was recorded, you actually had to sit and listen to somebody performing it, or you took part in the performing of it yourself, in which case you were probably listening very closely to your fellow performers. and it was a much more natural and communal thing to do. Now people walk around with little earbuds stuck in their ears, staring at little screens, walking up the street, not paying any attention to what's going on around them. Everybody has become so not just isolated, but sort of insulated from other people. I seem to notice this quite a lot when just walking around, and I find it a bit sad, really. I really wish that people would actually pull these damn things out of their ears and actually just listen to what's going on in the world around them, because actually it can be quite fascinating. Whether you're walking through woods, whether you're walking through a city centre, there's still all sorts of sound just to absorb. I actually have been doing it quite a lot. You know, when I've been going out for walks, I've been deliberately not sticking my iPod things in my ears, just going around and just trying to listen to the world around me.
Yeah, it's a good point. Anyone else, Chob, you want to jump into that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally. I couldn't work out whether we've lost the ability some hearing, or we can't hear what to, because everything that Andy's just saying, you know, I've noted for a long time as I go around the world, because I had, you know, anything to chuck in my ears. I didn't have an iPod or anything like that. But my interest in the world was recording the sounds around me. So I was listening, not only to the level that this the website that you showed, the YouTube video that you showed, which incidentally, if anybody wants hour 36, it's a really good listen. It's fantastic. Everything about just resonated with me completely. I think we do walk around in a very busy world, not hearing what's going on. Interestingly, I think Nina was saying that there's been some studies in this, and that nature has got loud with us, even though we're listening less, and it's to communicate with each other, obviously. So it is kind of interesting. We're having an impact on society, world, and nature through doing. It appears that we're not doing much at all. I just have never quite got my head around the idea that I isolate myself world by popping buds in my ears and not being able to hear anything else. I cannot abide not being able to hear the world. I don't like the idea of somebody creeping up on me or walking towards me without me being aware of them. And the sound is one of the things that gives it away. Because your sight, you're looking in, sound is. Yeah, that's my little rant.
No, that's fine. We had a little bit of choppy audio from you then, Chob, but I think most of us got the gist of what you were saying.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. We can work on your connection. I think you might have some kids playing Fortnite or something. I don't know, or whatever. But I've just reduced the feedback that I'm sending you to low just to see if that improves it. But we'll see how we go anyway. Apologies for that, everyone. It could be mine, it could be Chob's end, who knows? We just don't know. We'll keep working on it though.
It's definitely my end. Definitely my end.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they've built, to go off on a slight tangent, just estates around the area, and they're just soaking everything up now. What used to be an extremely good signal degraded virtually nothing.
Yeah. That's a shame. All right, Darren, did you want to have a comment about the listening?
What we hear and what we don't hear?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit different actually, because I hear a lot because I'm up very early and when it's quiet, and I'm out, as you know, I'm outside a lot. So I do get to hear a lot of nature and sounds. And I mean, probably not as much as I should, but I don't have AirPods or anything in at all. Most of the time it's when I'm in the studio or in the house when I've got headphones on or anything doing music. But I think that's what, when we had lockdown, it was more noticeable. And I think that's the reason why I did that track when I trashed my synths. Just to sort of, you know, get to know the sounds that you actually hear and what they can create. Like that one there, what's that?
That's Andy's token on his vape.
What?
he's Andy's token on his vape. I don't know what you
Can you
call
hear
it.
that?
Yeah, we can hear it.
That's
Yeah.
mental.
That's
It was,
mental.
it was like a. But yeah, so
We're all starting.
I
Sorry,
do.
I'll stop doing
We should
that.
sample that. Brilliant. All right, let's keep it going with the
At
news.
least it's not a screaming fan.
We do have one product that we can talk about this week. I don't know. This is not major synthy sort of news, but it might actually make a few people happy. I believe this is it's iConnectivity MIO or MIO XC. It's a bit of a weird name. It's actually a USB-C MIDI device. So I don't think there is any USB-C MIDI devices out there. So that's actually pretty good. The reason why it's good is because it is, they call it a fuss-free, simple one-in, one-out, 16-channel USB MIDI interface that you can connect to MIDI-compatible gear. So it's class compliant, I think is what they're trying to say. They haven't used that word, though. But they do say it lets you connect to Mac, PC, iOS, or Android. And I believe if you're a Linux person, it works just out of the box in Linux as well. So I think that the most important thing is that it's got a USB-C connection in it, which means that, like, if you've got an Android tablet or an Android phone, it just works straight away, which is pretty cool. Now, the other cool thing about it is they're $49.95, so that's not too bad. It's definitely not the cheapest USB MIDI interface, but it's not too bad anyway. So yeah, anyone think that's a cool thing, or should we move on?
Yeah, it's
So
all right. I
it's
think it's
I
cool.
find it handy.
That's it. Yeah, it'll probably have uses, but if its main selling point is it's USB-C, well, good until others come along, of course.
It won't be lonely for long, I don't think. Yeah. Fantastic. All right, let's go on to the next segment. What have we got? We have, well, pretty much the whole show's going to be about this, isn't it? So this will warm us all up. We do have quite a lot. I don't know what we've got first. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I was in the Facebook group for Akai Force, and one of the guys popped this one in here. So this is, I think this is Guitar Center. So they're selling an Akai Force for $2,999. This kind of stuff really annoys me, because that is not how much an Akai Force should be selling for in a shop. That really, really annoys me. And like Guitar Center, you guys should be, you're a big national chain, I believe, in the US. You guys should be, better than that, I think is probably the best way to say it. So this is probably...
That's not for everything on the stand, is it?
That's definitely for the Force, because it actually says that. The thing underneath is the MPC Live X, isn't it?
It's the X, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get all that and the stand and the stickers for $2,999.
You get the stickers, yeah. I'll throw the stickers in. But yeah, I guess I don't see a lot of people taking photos inside stores of stores being a little bit greedy with their prices. And this is not the only store in the world that's doing that. I've got local stores that do this sort of shit, so it really does annoy me.
Do we have the numbers to get the pound sort of euros rate? So 3,000 Australian dollars is 1,500.
No, that's
UK
US.
pounds,
That's
give or take.
US. That's US dollars. That one, because it's Guitar Center.
US dollars. So that comes out at about 2,000 UK pounds.
2,200, 2,300 round figures. Yeah, 2,300 pounds.
That's
Ridiculously.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would hope if you're in the market for buying one of those things, you'd do your research about how much it costs beforehand. And I know there's been difficulty in supply and people have been able to get their hands on them, but that's no reason to hike the price up sort of unnecessarily like that. In fact, if you want one, Gear for Music have got 20 in stock. I had a look yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, they say they have anyway.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I bought my Akai Force locally here, and it was cheaper than that in Australian dollars. So anyway, we'll keep moving on. This one was brilliant. So software. I've come across a few software lately, and I just don't get it. Who selling the Synth software? It's a VST. It's just
I
crazy.
don't think it ever.
Oh, what?
This is a VST, right? $400 US, and can you guys notice the postage? What are you going to post? Oh dear! Send it on a USB or something, there. That's ridiculous. These are fun. These are lots of fun. All right, let's get out of that one. What else we got? We have. I thought this one was quite timely, considering that we were just talking about Mick McNeil, and I don't know if you guys realised, but Mick McNeil's first synth was the Korg 770, which is indeed a rare 70s analog mono synth. The reason why I think it says 100 volts is it might be from Japan, but it doesn't actually. It's actually from Gosford in Australia, or West Gosford in Australia, which is on the east coast, just north of Sydney, if you're wondering where that is. Now, 4,000 Australian dollars. Let's do that for Andy. So about half in pounds. Let's see if it works out. £2,183 for a Korg 7. So it's probably not that scammy. He's offering to post it for free.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's well over the
It
odds.
depends
I
on-
mean,
How much these things? Because the value of everything is what somebody will pay for it. Well,
that's true, Chop.
we may think it's bonkers.
You know.
We may think it's mad, but if it to them worth it, who we really?
True.
If it said Mick
People spend money on
McNeil's,
expensive cars, don't they? So
if it said Mick McNeil's
Yeah, well, no, that
Korg
was-
770, it might be worth that. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, someone might be willing to pay. I think we've had someone say that before. What's the last one?
Yeah.
Oh, gold-plated Korg, not Korg, Moog Voyager, 24 karat gold. I don't think so. 10th anniversary, yes. Limit edition 10 of 30. I don't think they did 30. I think they did more than that. But someone could correct me if I'm wrong there. And it definitely isn't 24 karat. But look at the price, $37,000. If that was 24 karat gold, I think it'd be worth a bit more than $37,000. Look how much gold it would be. It'd be massive. It's a lot of gold. That's a big faceplate on that, wouldn't it? I can't get it, guys. It doesn't ship to Australia. So you guys might be able to get it. Whereabouts is it? It's in Florida, from the United States of America. Hi to all those people watching from Florida, because they're on the East Coast. They should be able to watch this show. Anyway, I think that was a good segue to talking about prices, and that was all used prices and one new price, wasn't it? So we're sort of getting you in the mood, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about whether you think the prices are scammy or not. But before we go into that, why don't we just have a little quick look at this? I have updated the graph of our used SH-101 prices, and something bizarre has happened. And that is that in July, because we've reached the end of July, happy 1st of August to everyone, by the way. Can you believe it's August already? Crazy. There was no
I'm still
sales.
struggling with 2020.
What I can work out, there were no sales of an SH-101 in when I did my eBay looking and I did my Reverb looking. I couldn't find any sale evidence of any SH-101s. So I don't know what that means, whether that means they haven't recorded it or whether it means that literally they didn't sell any. It's possible either. Also, June, I didn't get any Reverb sale evidence in June, so I think Reverb might just be off the ball there. But notice that it is kind of hovering for the last 3 or 4 months. The eBay price is kind of hovering around the same thing. So this is just really just to show you guys. When did I start this? Over a year ago. I just wanted to show the proof that selling a secondhand synth is not affected at all by Behringer making a clone of that synth. That's kind of the whole purpose of this.
there was one on Facebook UK listings yesterday when I was looking for 975. As far as I could tell, it was still available, but that was the asking price, 975, which is probably the top end these days. I can't imagine anybody wanting to shell out much more. I mean, unless like Chop said, unless you were desperate to have an original SH-101 rather than one of the many remake versions that there are.
Yeah, as Inky said, that really stuffed my graph up. That lack of data for the last month or two. It's like it's just fallen off the bottom of the cliff, hasn't it? Anyway,
Looks like you can get up.
yeah. But it doesn't matter. I think it'll pop back up again. Just wait for reverb. Maybe it's because it's the start of the financial year. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what? Anyway, I was saying before, everyone, welcome to the 1st of August. I think it's almost kind of slapped me across the face with a wet towel, realizing that we've gone through probably one of the toughest years that we've ever had in our lives, and we've already made it 8 months through. Most of this year's been COVID, hasn't it? I mean, the first 2 months, really. I mean, but in Australia we had bushfires, so that really sucked. We've had a really shitty year over here.
Yeah.
And there's
We've all
people
forgotten about that now, haven't we?
Yeah, well, there's people that are still waiting for help from Australian government because of the bushfires. So, and it still hasn't happened. And then they had to go through COVID after that. So yeah. But anyway, well done for everyone. You know, give yourselves all, reach over to your back. Give yourself a pat in the back for making it through till August. You got there, and we should be happy with ourselves. Yeah. Fantastic. Now, how do you want to guys got to go about? Do you guys want to talk about your experience with prices at the moment with synths? Who wants to have a first go at that?
Oh, I'll have a little go at that one.
Yeah.
I've been around long enough now to move through quite a lot of the phases that this gear goes through, from its original production, the 70s, when I bought my first Moog, yes, through into the 80s, where I sold it for 50 quid, to go into the digital. I then came out of that.
Yeah.
Analog was now the thing to have. Each of these stages, I never had to realize if I could buy back into that. I mean, I knew time to buy analog, absolutely, but I didn't have to do it. And I'm sitting here now. Well, the only survived is my Korg Poly 61, which is sitting over there. And the MS-10 under the. But they're looking like they may have to go soon, feeding the kids and things. I think I have to do. But it just, things come and go in popularity. The market pushes things. Is it worth it? Not really. People will pay it because they want it suddenly, and the market pushes prices up. You have to look at webcams over the last 3-4 months and the price of those to see how a market can be impacted. So, yes, do people pay the right price? Again, it's up to the individuals, surely, if they want to pay. But the market will always push up when it can, and you'll see it creep up and up and up and up and up. As soon as they recognise there's a trend developing, the market will push it. So I have got the very early stages of these things happening, but never had the money to benefit from it. I'd have bought 10 mini Moogs otherwise, and been selling a couple of them. Incidentally, I sold my last one 2 years ago. Heartbroken.
Yeah, so I was about to mention that, Chob. So the experience for you was that you sold your mini Moog, and obviously we always regret things like that. But what you sold it for 500, didn't you? Is that right?
The 50 quid deal one, because if I ever buy that in the mid, analog was nobody wanted analog, and it wasn't, to be honest. The oscillator doing well out of tune, and it needed it, but couldn't even find really anyone to service it then, because digital was the future, and that was it.
So it was a bit poorly, was it?
It was a little bit poorly, but it's probably a little bit of care and attention. It brought back to life. My Poly 61 here was dead in the water. I took it to his, and he's brought it back to life. 100 quid.
Yeah.
It's probably not worth a great deal more, to be honest. But
no, it is.
There you go.
It is. Poly 61's definitely worth more than 100 quid. Definitely.
Well, I'll try now.
Make sure you hang on
Do
to
it,
that one.
Chuck.
690 on Facebook yesterday, Chob.
90.
Yeah.
Not worth thinking.
Well, you might,
Kept it mostly.
you might want to hold on to it and then see what happens when Behringer bring out the monopoly. Remembering though that the monopoly is only a 4-voice, paraphonic, really, isn't it? It's only 4-voice paraphonic synth, whereas the 61 is proper polyphonic. So yeah, slightly better.
Slightly. It's 8 notes, if I remember rightly.
Was it 6 or 8? Was it? I need to check.
I think it's 8. I think I tried it the other day, and I got it to 9 fingers and started last note and the foot off.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling it's 8. No.
1982. Let's have a quick look what Vintage Synth Explorer says. So 6 voices, Korg Poly 61, 6 voices, DCO, 2 DCO oscillators, 1 LFO, 1 low pass filter with 1 envelope, 64 patch memory. Actually, no, it's got 2 envelopes. It's got an ADSR for the VCR as well. Beautiful. And built-in arpeggiator. What's the arpeggiator and sequencer like? Is it kind of similar to?
Similar to, well, it was the Poly 6 I originally had, which I sold, and then 10 years later I replaced with arpeggiators. They're very basic, but it worked well. The only trouble I ever found with it was that trying to create sounds very difficult because it's a touchpad and basically a dial you turn, and you've got little increments as you turn it. This would have set points, so you might have 1 to 7 your resonance, so you've only got those to hit. And once you set the sound, you couldn't do anything else. Once you've come out of edit mode, you're back into the real world. No twiddleability, as I used to call it.
It's the
same little trick we discovered.
It's the same interface that I've got on the EX800, which is the same as the Poly 800.
Yep.
They're all the same, and so Korg were kind of like spreading that out over. And I know what you mean by the stepping. because when you actually adjusted the filter, you'd kind of have to either hold down the up button, and it would step through the iterations of the filter. Yeah.
And it just goes through literally in the display. It goes 1, 2, 3 up to 7, and you've got nothing in between. I mean, you made some great sounds with it, and at the time, it was the future again, and everybody wanted them. We all discovered very quickly because there was no effects on this either, and the Poly 6 did have onboard effects.
Does it not have a chorus? Does it not have a chorus on the 61? Okay.
Nope, nothing. So we actually took through it.
Yeah, because the EX800's got a chorus on it. It's weird. I was gonna ask you. Have you heard of the Kiwi mod that you can get for them?
No.
Okay, so there's a company called, I don't know where they are, whether they're in New Zealand or not, because Kiwi mod might be relative to the name, but they do these things called Kiwi mods, and they do it for quite a lot of synths, and they definitely do one for the Poly 800 and EX800, same synth. One's desktop, one's keyboard version. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it for the Poly 61. Someone could check. Won't save me having to do it while I'm running a show. But one of the things that the Kiwi mod does is it talks directly to the analog circuit, so you're not having to go through that steppy, crappy microprocessor that you were just talking about. So it gives you physical controls to actually analog adjust the filter, physical controls for the ADSR, I believe, a few other things, and MIDI. Yours wouldn't have had MIDI unless you got the M model, if I remember
right.
right.
Yeah, for Juno and JXP as well, don't they?
They do, yeah. So
about 1984. Apparently, you could get MIDI. You had to request it from FAC, and they got Poly 61 with MIDI.
Yeah, they had an M. Yeah.
And in '84, they brought one with MIDI. But very simple MIDI. It was out. There was nothing
very simple
complicated
MIDI.
about it.
Yeah, it didn't do crazy things like sysx. You couldn't edit any patches or anything like that with MIDI. It was just basic. You're still dumping the tape
with
the tape. Yeah. But that's great. See, that to me, look, that just takes us back to early 80s, and that's how we stored patches on synths. We had to record them on a cassette. It was like how we played games on a Commodore 64. It's the same thing, wasn't it? We had to use a tape deck. Yeah. So that was those days. And you know, we
But it was
lived
because
through
it took us from the world of no patches, no memory, everything was manual and done on the fly.
Yeah,
You know, that's what I thought, that a lot of great musicians developed what they call their sound, especially on the Mini Moog. I used to be able to recognize a player by the sound. And it's because I reckon they just got sick and tired of fiddling and twiddling. They just to a sound went, oh, like that, we'll keep it. That's my sound.
yeah, yeah. Or having to take 5 mini Moogs on the set just because
Yeah.
you want to quickly put that one in because that's the next song you're going
That's
to do.
that
You have to
sound.
touch it.
Yeah. I mean,
Dinah labelled each mini Moog for each track that they were doing.
I'll be playing live and I'm trying to set up maintenance for the next song I'm playing manually while still playing, and they bang, they cut into the next song. What have I got set up for? Farting sound. Just dialed in something completely and utterly.
You need to be watching next.
Been there,
You
done
need
that.
to be watching next week for the memes, Chob. If you will like, see if you can remember that for next week. There's a meme coming up.
All right.
Annie knows what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand exactly what Chob's saying there. I mean, I had a Poly 800, so I'm very familiar with that stepping up, stepping down. I've also got a Korg DW 6000, which doesn't do it. It has a slider, which whilst you can still hear the stepping increments, you can at least move the slider up and down, which was considerably better. But yeah, it's not a good interface. Yeah, those are the synths which I used to basically learn how synthesizers worked. I learned synthesis, if you like, on a Poly 800, using parameter access. But it was a logical parameter access system, unlike say the DX synths, which was just a night. Oh, I'll shut up about those now. But it's tricky. But yeah, also like, using analog synths live with no memories. Yeah, I've done that. At the end of one particular track, you'd make sure that there were no analog synths playing, so that you could set them up for the next tune while it was playing out. And sometimes you never quite knew what you'd got. And then, of course, between track A and track B, one particular synth decides it's going to adopt a microtonal tuning system, and yeah, it's a pain in the arse, really. Thank heavens for patch memories in so many ways. But I mean, oddly enough, in a studio, like in here, I'm quite happy. I mean, my little SH101, SH01A up there, it's got patch memories. I haven't saved a single sound in there. Not a single sound have I saved. Why? Because you don't need to. It's so quick just to dial it up.
Yeah.
If you know the thing well enough, you don't need it. Yeah. So if I was doing a gig, I might think differently about it though, but at the moment I haven't saved a single patch because it's so quick to. I know the SH101 well enough to know that what I need to do to get a particular sound quickly. So
same with the Pro One. You don't really need patch memory on the Pro One either. It's pretty quick to get to stuff.
It's more complex. It's more complex, but you can get there unless you're getting into sort of the like I said, the more complex modulation routines through the modulation matrix. That then it could be a bit hit and miss whether you get the nice clangy sound or one that just goes. So it's but you're right. They're quick enough.
So I want to bring this back to the conversation about synth prices, and we'll get the guys in chat to join in. So guys in chat and girls as well, ladies, if you want to bring up something in chat and you want me to bring it up verbally here on the show, make sure you flag my name because it's the easiest way to get my attention, because I am kind of putting one eye on the chat whilst I'm talking and things like that. But while we're chatting, I think we one of the things I kind of want to touch on is when I got my first synth. We talked about this recently. I think I might have even spoken about it on Jamie's show, Geosynths, and why I got that synth and what was the reasoning behind it. And so the reason why I sort of want to talk about this is I can actually remember even the thought process that I went through. And it's way back in the 90s, early 90s when I bought this synth. I can remember the thought process. I remember the sort of fears I had and I can remember that, you know, how much it hurt my back pocket as well. So there's that sort of, there's all that, and the choice that you had, and you kind of, you know, you always, the fear of what I'm talking about is, if I get this, is this going to be, you know, you've got to get yourself over the line. Is this the one I want to get me over the line? Is this the start synth I want? And you kind of, you do have that trepidation, don't you? You sort of want to, And the reason why I got a Roland XP10, and it's a digital synth, right in the middle of what Chob was talking about before, was the digital sort of revolution. Did not even slightly look at any analog synths at that stage, because I was in a music store and they're bombarding us with all the sales jargon, right? So a lot of this stuff, you got to think about it. When you go into a music store, they're actually telling you stuff because they want to sell the products that are on the floor or in the warehouse in the back room. That's why they're telling you the stuff. So they're very influential. And if you're a noob like I was, you're going to listen to all this and get all excited and listen to all the hype. And so yeah, I got a Roland XP10. Was that is that the world's best synth? Absolutely not. Is that probably a pretty shitty synth? Yes, it was. But it did get me over the line. And I tell you what, I got a lot of use out of it. I completely went crazy with the Roland GS sound canvas, and I completely took the MIDI side of it to the. I literally made that thing just about crash MIDI wise. Used Cakewalk to sequence it, got every single sound possible out of it. You know, like it was something that I just used from, you know, all corners of that synth were used by me. And I think that's one of the coolest things that you can sort of talk about when you're sort of new and you're buying a synth, and, you know, is that going to deliver it for you? So yes, I had fears. Yes, it did hurt me in the back pocket. That wage I was earning at the time in my life wasn't great. But it got me over the line. I got a synth. It was a keyboard. I could play it. It had a nice piano sound. If I needed to gig, I could get the sounds pretty quick. The Roland, you know, sounds were pretty nice. You know, in terms of playing live, they sounded really good over a massive, you know, pub or whatever like that where you decided to play. So that was it for me. But now, you know, if I buy a synth, it's a completely different feeling. It's a completely different decision process. You know, I'm older in life. I've got a bit more disposable income. You know, when you get older, you're not having to sort of throw your money at things that you have to throw it at when you're younger, like pissing it up the wall every Friday and Saturday night.
Something wrong then.
Yeah. So you know, now like I'm getting synths and that now. They're serving functions, and they're not like, I don't have a fear in getting it and going, oh, is that going to, you know, is this going to be the worst? You know, I don't have that fear anymore. For me, I got a little bit more knowledge as well, so that does help. So I'm just sort of trying to sort of get you guys into feeling of what we're talking about here, and whether the prices kind of where they fit in with you. And we showed that example with the Akai Force, and you're seeing your local music store perhaps maybe taking a few liberties with their pricing. It definitely happens here where I live. I go in there and I look at the guy, and I actually tell them, I say, guys, actually, I've got a great little segue for that. I actually say this.
Ergonomic chairs, 4 of them. What do you want? 180. He's dreaming.
Dad, 450.
For jousting sticks, tell him he's dreaming.
So that's what I do to the synth guys in the stores. I tell them they're dreaming when they want to. The Mini Moog was the most latest one that I was getting a price on, and they wanted 20,000 Australian dollars for a Mini Moog. Not a Mini Moog. Sorry, a Moog 1. What am I saying Mini Moog for? Moog 1. 20,000 Australian dollars for a Moog 1, which I just said to you guys, I said, you're dreaming. And the guy goes, oh, well, you know, someone else will buy it. And I went, great. And I know this particular store. I've bought stuff off of them. I bought my mixer off of them that's sitting in there over here, the Presonus Studio 1602. And when they first were selling that, they were selling it for like $3,000, and I got it off them for $1,000. So if it sits there and it sits in that little glass cabinet of theirs, well, for a Moog 1, it's a big glass cabinet. But I know that it will just sit there. They'll be stubborn as hell, and they'll just keep that price right to the day where the boss, big boss, will come down and go, right, you got to move this on now. Come on, boys, put a discount it. It's been sitting there for like 6 years. But yeah, who wants to go next?
I think I'm going to actually. I'd like to hear what Darren thinks about this, because Darren's actually got, as you can see, quite a number of different types of synths behind him: digital, analog, sample and synthesis. He's got his modular thing. He's got an original SH101. He's got loads of little desktop boxes, and he's acquired those over different, at different times, probably over quite a long period of time. So, I'd actually be quite interested to know, what he bought, when he bought it, how much he bought it for, and how he feels about how much they're worth now, because some of them will be worth considerably more than he paid, and some will be worth probably less than he paid. So.
Yeah, I've got a quite different view on buying synths now. Even though I could probably afford to buy not the high-end stuff, but more kit, I don't feel as though there's any need in me buying any kit. If I ever buy anything now, it's more for the fact it's more of a lust for the synth, or or gear, because to be honest, for the stuff I write now, I could just quite happily not buy anything ever again and still create the music that you want to create, because at the end of the day, it's what you do with the kit that you've got. So I mean, even if you only have, like Rans was telling about his XP10, if you've only got an XP10 and you can't afford it, that's all you ever need, and it becomes lust after a certain amount of time of buying synths and gear. And it also you end up watching people doing fantastic things with a new synth or a new piece of gear, and you think, oh yeah, that'll help me out, and you buy it, and 9 times out of 10 it doesn't do what you think it was going to do for you. So I'm sort of quite on the loose side of buying stuff now. I don't feel as though I need to buy anything to help my music. It'd be more the fact that I lust for that piece of kit. On the synth, I think the first synth I bought was the XP50. That one there. I've got that and the Akai 3000 XL sampler.
Wow.
Because I bought that. I got it in a package. So I bought the XP, the X3000 sampler, and a Mac G3. And that was going to be my system. And I paid it off on tick over 5 years.
Wow.
To buy that off. That was another reason why I didn't want to buy any more Sims, because it took me 5 years to buy those 3 things from a local music store.
You probably paid for it 3 times.
It was like, oh yes, the cost of what I spent over the 5 years of buying it was, it was like probably double what it was all worth.
Yeah.
And by the time I finished paying for it, the Mac was out of date, and everyone had moved on from the XP50. It was like an old synth at that point, and that's why that's why I stopped. I sort of got disheartened with music, and I sort of stopped. I loved listening to it and doing, all the records and stuff, but I sort of stopped at that point. And it was only, I think, similar Rans. I think it was only in the last 4 years I really started up. So all this was collected. All this stuff. I mean, there's obviously new stuff. So I mean, I think I got this, the AM1X. I bought that be late 90s, probably early 2000s. This was late 90s when I got this, the Juno. In fact, they were all before 2000. These synths.
Yep.
I bought them all before 2000. And like I say, then I went on a hiatus. I'm not doing music until 4 years ago, in which point I then acquired, newer stuff, because obviously I had the better cash flow and room to do it, because I had no room to put anywhere. Yeah. So that's how it goes. And what was the question you wanted, Andy?
He was asking about the price of things now, what you can get things for now.
How much did you buy the Juno for?
the Juno, I got that for 200 quid.
You see, there you go, and you could
like I
probably,
say.
if you really were desperate to sell it, you could probably get 1,200 plus for that now.
Well, I bought it at 200 quid with the flight case. Yeah. Whereas the
Even
XP
better. Yeah.
and the A1X, I'm not sure what the prices are going for now, but I think they're probably still around about what the price. I think the A&X when it was new was about 800 quid.
Yeah, they're still pretty pricey.
But I bought it. I bought it second hand anyway. So
yeah, they have.
The XP50.
The only brand new synth. Is it? That was the only synth that I bought brand new.
When did you get the 101?
The 101, that was late 90s. Well, similar time. In fact, it was before I got the Juno, because there was a little shop called Johnny Roadhouse, and I went into Johnny Roadhouse, and I seen the Juno sat there, and I thought, oh, it's too big, that, and at the time it was expensive. And then sat next to it was that 101 for, I think it was £149.
Jeez.
And I went, oh, it's only small. It's only small. I can carry that home. So I'll have that. It wasn't what I wanted neither, because at the time I didn't know what 101 it was.
Do you guys remember that?
Like, I'll have that one. That grey thing there.
Remember that scene in Back to the Future where he's trying to get the almanac, the book? if only you had the almanac for 2020.
Exactly. Well, the funny thing was, they had two of them, and two 303s, and the 303s were only 50 quid each.
Oh.
And I just went,
Oh,
exactly.
They sound like shit, don't they? 303s.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I'd seen
well,
that.
It was a little plastic.
Cool.
It was a little plastic thing in the window, and I looked at it. I went, no, what a keyboardy thing! And that was the only one I could afford. It was small enough. And now,
1993, I bought the W30 for £500, and the SH101 for £99. So the whole package was 600 quid for the W30 and the SH101. I sold the SH101 when I bought the Supernova, and I sold it for 250 quid, which I thought I'd done quite well out of it. And now I'm sitting here thinking, oh dear, I wish I'd kept it, but hey, well, yeah.
You know what's interesting, guys? You guys talk about the analog stuff, right? So Darren was talking about how he got the Juno, the SH101 at the same time, and in the
the Raven,
and in the late 90s,
the Raven,
nobody was buying analog. I mean, people were buying analog. Let's not be too picky, but nobody was. Everyone was talked out of buying analog. It was like for me, Darren, you were talking about the AN1X. When I went to the shop, there was an AN1X and there was a CS1X sitting next to each other in the Yamaha section. And
I went in both, yeah.
For the life of me, I bought the CS1X, and I wish I bought. I think it was an extra $100 or $200 for the AN1X. I wish I got the AN1X now, but I've still got the CS1X.
Do you know why I got that instead of the? Do you know why I got that instead of the CS1? Oh, can't we say it?
Yeah.
The CX1 was it the CS1? Yeah. The reason I got that instead of the other one, because I didn't want this one, I wanted the other one, but they were both in the shop, and I said, oh, I've been had my art set on it, the CS1X for ages, and he went, oh, I'm sorry, I've already sold it. He didn't have a sold sticker on it, so I've already sold it. What? And I'd saved up my money. I was so desperate to get it. And he says, but I've got this. I went, go on then. So I had to put another 50 quid to it or something like that. And then
because
ended up with
they were slightly more expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chob, you were trying to jump in then. Did you want to add something?
Probably can't remember where it was now. It was yes, the tail end of the 90s. That's the exact point that I knew to buy into analog, but I had no money and I couldn't afford scoop up all the deals that were just appearing left, right, because everybody wanted to move into the new thing.
Right. Okay. So that would have been frustrating.
Very, especially now. I was looking back and going, I was right. I'm right.
Yeah. Jeez. I mean, but how would you have known? I mean, other than the fact that you maybe just lusted after the gear, how would you have known that you?
It just comes with watching trends come and go, and you know full well that if you're on a certain trend, be highs and lows with anything. And when some that's to get it, it's just marketing, and because it's been supplanted by something else, and that other thing eventually will plummet as well. And you know that what you've bought that at the time was suddenly ramp up because it becomes the next desirable thing.
Yeah.
And when your hair's long, you cut it short. When it's short, you grow it long. There's only one way these things, but
Yeah,
it is predicting.
Is it a grass? Is it a grass is greener scenario? Is it?
I mean, had a load of analog gear and just got the wrong gear, and it would have been worth nothing.
Yeah.
I knew that some of them were potentially going to be worth a few quid, but I just couldn't afford.
I do remember seeing a Jupiter in a music store in the 90s, and I don't know. I just remember someone showing it to me, and it felt old, and someone showed it to me. But I look at a Jupiter now, and I think they don't look old at all. They look awesome. So I don't know. I just don't know whether we were brainwashed or whether it was just a mentality the young people have. I don't know. Like, it'd be really interesting to see what the young people feel like. Someone who's in their early 20s now, what would they feel compared to us older sort of guys? Not saying that we're that old, but like we're 20 years older than the young 20-year-olds. So what do they feel when they're going out to a shop? Are they sort of
I've had a
influenced by the hype?
conversation fairly recently. I've had a conversation fairly recently, actually, with a kid in school who's big into his music and produces some really good stuff. And we was talking about, and he just said, "I don't know why you'd bother going out and spending hundreds of pounds on a box when your computer can do it all. I do everything in the computer. I already have the computer. I do it all in the computer." It just seems, and he was just saying he was absolutely convinced that it was lunacy to go out and spend hundreds of pounds on hardware gear when you didn't need to. And I thought, well, he's got a point. That was his way of thinking. He'd grown up and he'd been got used to doing everything in a computer. That was his environment. It was absolutely familiar to him, and the hardware was a peculiar, strange concept. And I sort of had to do a bit of chin scratching about it, thinking, well, is he right? Is he wrong? Does he make? But that's the difference between. I mean, those of us who grew up with hardware. Hardware was all that you could do, and you bung MIDI cables in the back of it. Yeah. And these guys who just sit in front of a screen.
So that's sort of like two completely different topics. One would be hardware versus software, and the other one would be I can't justify spending blah 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 because I think you can do it on a computer argument too. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to slice off the main show, which is like what we do every week. Don't go anywhere. We're not going. The stream is still going to go. So what I'm going to do is we're going to say goodbye to all the mainstream show viewers who are watching on a replay. See you later.
Those who are watching later.
Yeah.
And in the future,
we are going to roll the end titles. Let's go.